The future search design takes its name from seeking out all new possibilities for a better future by canvassing ideas from a large number of people, ranging from 8 to 40, in a short amount of time. It is also known as the interview design or speed dating because of its layout. It is one of the easiest designs to facilitate as a novice because it is so structured. You do not have to be a charismatic facilitator. The process is highly engaging and grabs the interest of the participants as long as the problem is relevant and the diagnostic questions are stimulating and interesting. Follow the structure and you are guaranteed a positive result and a fun experience. But be warned, miss a step and you may have trouble. Thus, while the design can be used with many kinds of problems, it does have a stepwise process that has to be followed. So please be extra careful to follow the detailed instructions because this process can be very challenging to explain to participants. The design is a creative way to collect and organize ideas from your team by having them speed date their way through a series of up to 6 questions. It can be used as a diagnostic tool within a team or a larger organization to uncover difficult issues while also beginning the exploration of solutions to those issues. It is adaptable to a wide range of situations, it is easy to replicate once the design is understood, and perhaps most important, it's enjoyable for those participating. We know this because our meeting evaluations show this design consistently receiving the highest marks. Following is a demonstration of how to harness the collective brain power of your team in 5 easy steps. Let's use an example. Imagine that you are a facilitator within a division of a large service organization. 6 months ago, there was a reorganization of this larger organization that led to some negative influences in both productivity and morale within the division. Many of your leaders are dissatisfied with the new organization and the severe restrictions on spending that came along with it. While they understand the financial constraints, they also want to do something to fix the situation. You have been asked to facilitate a session using the future search design to help these top leaders remedy some of the issues. Step 1, the pre-work. You schedule a half day for your team of leaders, realizing that this may be the first of several sessions required to resolve the issues. You believe the future search design will initiate a process of true engagement after a period of top-down crisis reactive management during the months following the reorganization. Given the acknowledged problems in the transition period, you ask the leaders of the organization to each submit an anonymous list of the 6 issues they believe need to be addressed by the group in this half-day session. From that information, you craft 6 questions that will provide the focus of the group's effort. Here are some example questions based on this organization. 1. What factors in the current reorganization are not working and need to be addressed? Please be specific. 2. What advice would you give to the division boss as they attempt to improve the organization's effectiveness? 3. What factors are undermining our productivity? 4. Given the challenges of the past few months, what are 3 things you would do immediately to increase morale? 5. We've been told that communications have suffered as of late. What would you suggest specifically to remedy this situation? And 6. What are the 2 toughest questions we should be addressing as a division, but people might be reluctant to ask? The questions must be challenging, relevant, interesting, and able to be answered by the participants in a short amount of time. Step 2, the setup. There will be 24 participants for this session, and you arrange the large room with the chairs in 4 rows of 6, facing each other and close together. It is important that the chairs stay close together throughout the design. We have found this provides the participants a more personal experience, almost as if they are sharing a secret. On each chair you have placed a pad of paper, a pen, and a sheet of paper with a single question lying face down. The format for the question sheets is the question number, the actual question, and a large letter X or O. The X or O simply denotes which row the question sheet will be placed on and will be helpful later when we describe to the participants who should be doing what. As you will see in the detail of the design, there will always be an equal number of X's and O's. Step 3. The speed dating. Ask the participants, who have been waiting in another room with perhaps coffee and snacks, to sit in any chair but not to look at their questions yet. Explain that they each have a question numbered from 1 to 6. Also, on their question sheet, they have a large letter X or O. Those who have an X on their paper will, when you say go, lean forward to the person sitting across from them and read their question to the individual, who is an O person, and at the same time show it to them. Some people have an easier time processing the question when they can read it, while others do better when it is read to them, so it's important to include both options. Here's a really top tip. If one of the 6 questions is about the boss, do not place participants in the position of having to answer that particular question directly to the boss. Make sure the boss has a different question to ask. The individual receiving the question will then have 3 minutes to answer the question as best they can. In the first 3-minute round, all the X's will be listening at once. Then in the second round, all the O's will be listening and the X's will be sharing their responses to the question, so be prepared for the room to get noisy. As the facilitator, encourage the interviewers, those asking the questions, to probe for examples, getting the best information possible. All the information gathered is anonymous, therefore no names will be attached to any statements made. It is important to emphasize this, especially when the group has lost some trust, as in this example. Also, tell the group that later each participant will search for patterns among the data they have written down, thus taking good notes is important. At the end of the first 3-minute round, indicate that it's time to switch, and the people in the O row will then ask their question to the X person. Again, it is best that they both read and show the question and seek examples whenever possible. After the second 3-minute round, have the participants rotate. The people in the O row will move one chair to their left. The person at the end will move around to the back of their row, as you can see here, and the people in the X row will remain still throughout the process. Everyone keeps their same question for the next round. Once all the O's have moved, start the next round of 3 minutes with the X's asking their question to a new individual. This process continues until all the X's have had the opportunity to talk to every person in the opposite row. Here's another really top tip. Make sure that the chairs stay close together once people have moved. Some people will try to shuffle themselves further apart while you're not looking, because they are uncomfortable being in such close proximity to others. Tell the participants that at some point they will have the opportunity to answer their own question, because every question is duplicated. This means they should focus on capturing only what other people say without putting their own spin on things. It is important to give the directions twice. While nothing in the directions is particularly difficult to understand, it might be an unusual event for the participants. Also, expect to answer many questions about the process and who should be doing what and when. Step 4. Organising the data. In about an hour, including the setup, explanations, and all the moving around, the future search process provides a complete sample from those present. Now the challenge is to make sense of the information. Ask the participants to take another 20 minutes to individually organise the data from their question. A best practice is to use the process of truths, trends, and unique ideas, the same process that you'll see in other designs, such as Genie in the Bottle or the carousel design. Truths. A truth is a response to a question that cannot be denied. It is mentioned or agreed to by at least 4 of the 6 individuals interviewed. It is so powerful that it seems to leap off the page. Sometimes there is no truth. In the situation in our example, one would anticipate that some truths will exist. Trends. A trend is mentioned by 2 or 3 of those interviewed, and if not addressed, might turn into a truth or become a bigger problem in the future. Unique ideas. A unique idea is one that the interviewer believes is important to discuss, adds dimension to a problem, or warrants further examination. Clearly, this can be a somewhat subjective process. Nevertheless, such creative and potentially valuable ideas shouldn't be lost. Often brilliance does not come from the view of the majority. Step 5. The presentation. Once the participants have organised their data individually, you should create new groups of 4 based on the question numbers people have been working with. All the individuals who interviewed with question 1 will get together, share their conclusions, and reach a consensus about the information to be presented to the larger group. If one person has an issue as a trend and another has it as a truth, the group of 4 must negotiate for the final categorization. If they can't come to some agreement, the idea won't be presented. The negotiations take about 20 minutes, and at the end, each group of 4 will have agreed on one set of truths, trends, and unique ideas that they believe must be presented to the larger group and reflects the current reality for that organisation. Then each presenting group selects the most important issue that they agree must be addressed to present to the large group. Again, they need to agree on which one. To make this issue memorable, they design a brief 3 to 5 minute skit or vignette that demonstrates it. It can be a serious or humorous depiction of the issue, and they can use props, exaggerate, whatever will make it resonate with the group. This should take about 20 minutes to design. Asking people to design a skit may generate a bit of resistance because it forces people to choose a difficult issue and puts them into a performance role. The surprise is that these vignettes tend to be the most memorable parts of the entire activity. Finally, each group has about 5 minutes to present their information to the large group. They read their question, then, without discussion, they present their skit. And then, one or more people present the truths, trends, and unique ideas for their question. It is not uncommon for similar issues to arise from very different questions. Obviously, uncovering the issues is the first step. You will need to schedule additional follow-up work to figure out what to do to address these issues, but you could immediately take a quick vote to try to prioritize them. Planning a follow-up activity using a design like our 6-step problem solving would be a good way to engage the group in solving them, whether immediately or at a later date. While this is primarily a diagnostic design, some of the responses may have solutions embedded in them. Here is a summary of the steps with the time needed for each. Step 1, the pre-work. Step 2, the setup. Step 3, the speed dating. Step 4, organising the data. Step 5, the presentation. The total design takes 2.5 hours.